Virgo, you have been doing the work. The quiet, careful, often invisible work of analyzing, adjusting, improving, and showing up even when no one was watching, even when the results were not yet visible, even when the effort felt like it was disappearing into a void with nothing coming back. You kept going anyway. You showed up on days when you were tired, on days when doubt was louder than confidence, on days when you questioned whether what you were doing was making any difference at all. Because that is what you do. That is the deep, steady, reliable nature of who you are. You do not stop simply because the evidence of progress has not yet appeared. You understand at some level that others sometimes cannot reach, that the work comes first and the results come later, and that the gap between those two things is not failure. It is simply the process unfolding at its own pace. But here is what is true right now, Virgo. That gap is closing. The quiet, invisible work you have been doing is beginning to find its way to the surface. The careful effort, the small daily corrections, the willingness to keep going when nothing felt certain. All of it is starting to translate into something visible, something real, something you will be able to see and feel and trust. Before this month ends, alignment is arriving in your life. Not the sudden, dramatic kind that arrives all at once and overwhelms. The real kind, the steady kind, the kind that builds on itself and creates genuine, lasting change. These 11 ways show exactly how that alignment looks when it is genuinely happening for you. Way 1. The right people begin appearing at exactly the moments when you need them most. You have spent enough of your life being the reliable one. The person others come to, the one who can be counted on, the one whose presence makes difficult things feel more manageable. You are good at being that person. You do it with care and without resentment, for the most part, because your service-oriented nature finds genuine meaning in being useful to the people you love. But somewhere in the balance of all that giving, the question of who appears for you, who shows up at the moment when you need it, sometimes gets lost. Right now, that is beginning to shift. The right people are beginning to appear in your life with a quality of timing that is impossible to dismiss as coincidence once you start noticing it. Perhaps it is someone from your past who returns at exactly the moment a certain kind of conversation is most needed. Someone who knows you well enough to say the thing you needed to hear without you having to explain the full context first. Perhaps it is a new person who arrives in circumstances that seem accidental, but carry an undeniable feeling of rightness. Someone whose presence opens something in you that had been quietly closed. Perhaps it is someone already in your life who steps forward in a new way, showing you a depth of care or understanding that you did not know they were carrying. However the form, the function is the same. These are not random arrivals. These are people who have been drawn toward you by the energy of what you have been building, the alignment between your values, your efforts, and the direction you have been moving. When you are genuinely aligned, you stop needing to search for the right people because they find their way to you. They are drawn by the signal of who you actually are, methodical, honest, deeply caring, genuinely intelligent, and by the invisible pull of something that is ready to be shared or built or healed between you. Pay attention to who appears in the coming days and weeks. Notice the quality of their arrival, whether it feels right in a way that your discerning mind cannot argue with. These are the people who belong in the next chapter of your life, and the fact that they are beginning to appear is one of the clearest signs that the next chapter has genuinely begun. Way 2. A financial or practical situation that has been stuck begins to shift in your favor. Virgo, you are practical. This is not a small thing. It is one of your most significant strengths. You understand that life operates in the material world as well as the invisible one, and that real alignment has to show up in concrete, practical reality in order to mean something. You do not lose yourself in abstract ideas about abundance, while ignoring the actual facts of your situation. You pay attention to the facts. You track them carefully. You make adjustments. You plan. And you have been looking with that careful, practical eye at a particular situation, financial, logistical, material in some way, that has been resistant to your efforts, that has not moved the way it should, given how much careful attention you have brought to it, that has made you wonder on harder days whether you are missing something, whether there is an error in your approach that your thorough mind somehow failed to catch. There is not an error. The situation has been stuck not because of a flaw in your analysis or your effort, but because the timing was not yet right, and timing is the one variable that even the most meticulous planning cannot fully control. Right now, the timing is beginning to align. Something in this practical situation is starting to shift. It will not necessarily announce itself dramatically. The shift may arrive quietly, a change in circumstances that improves the landscape slightly, an unexpected development that creates an opening, a resolution to a complication that has been draining your energy and resources. Or it may be something you have been waiting on for longer than felt reasonable finally arriving, a decision made in your favor, a resource that becomes available, a situation that was blocked beginning to move again. Whatever form the shift takes, notice it. Do not immediately minimize it or explain it away, the way your self-critical nature sometimes does with good news. This shift is real. It is the practical dimension of the larger alignment that is entering your life right now, and it deserves to be recognized and received with the same careful, genuine attention you have given to every challenge that preceded it. The work you did through the stuck period was not wasted. It was exactly the work that prepared you for this shift. CTAA. If what you are hearing feels accurate, know that it could happen if you applied this energy consistently for 21 consecutive days. That is the 21-day challenge pinned at the top of this channel. It is built around daily guidance, focused direction, and real momentum. If you are tired of staying in the same cycle, that structure is exactly what has been missing. Way 3. A burden you have been managing alone begins to feel lighter. You carry a great deal. This is something that is true of you in a way that is sometimes invisible even to yourself, because you carry things so efficiently with such quiet capability that they rarely appear from the outside to be the weight they actually are. You manage details that others miss. You track concerns that others do not think about. You hold awareness of multiple dimensions of a situation simultaneously, the practical, the relational, the emotional, the logistical, and you manage them all with a level of competence that makes it look like it costs you nothing. But it does cost something. And one specific burden, something you have been carrying largely on your own for a period that has gone on long enough, has been heavier than usual. Perhaps it is a responsibility that somehow became yours alone when it was always meant to be shared. Perhaps it is an emotional weight, a worry, a concern, a grief that you have been tending to quietly without asking for the support you actually needed. Perhaps it is a practical situation that has required your constant attention and effort at a level that has been depleting rather than sustainable. Right now, something is beginning to ease. The weight of this burden is beginning to shift, not necessarily because the situation resolves itself completely, though that may be part of it, but because the conditions around it are changing in ways that make it less heavy. Someone may step in to share what you have been carrying alone. A situation may resolve itself in a way that removes a specific pressure. Or something inside you may shift, a release of the need to manage everything perfectly, a recognition that you do not have to hold this entirely by yourself, a moment of genuine self-compassion that allows you to put something down that you should never have been required to pick up alone in the first place. However it arrives, allow it. Allow the lightning. Do not immediately pick up a new weight to replace the one that has been put down. Let yourself feel what it is like to carry less. Let your body and your mind and your spirit have the experience of genuine relief. You have earned it, fully, thoroughly, without question. Way 4, your instincts, which your analytical mind sometimes overrides, become harder to ignore and easier to trust. This is one of the more significant shifts that alignment brings for Virgo specifically, because it touches something that has been a point of internal tension for much of your life. You have an extraordinary analytical mind. It is fast, thorough, logical, capable of processing extraordinary amounts of information and arriving at well-reasoned conclusions. You trust it. You rely on it. In many situations, it has served you extremely well. But you also have instincts, a quieter, deeper intelligence that operates below the level of logic and analysis. A knowing that arrives before the reasoning does. A sense of rightness or wrongness about a situation that exists independently of any argument you could build for it. And for much of your life, when these two intelligences have been in conflict, when your instinct said one thing and your analytical mind said another, you have defaulted to the analysis. Because analysis feels safer. It can be examined, checked, defended. It gives you something to point to. Instinct, by contrast, cannot be footnoted or verified. Simply is. But instinct is not less reliable than analysis. It is a different kind of intelligence, drawing on everything your entire being has ever experienced and learned, and much of what your deepest self knows cannot be articulated in logical steps. Right now, as alignment arrives in your life, your instincts are becoming harder to override. They are becoming louder, clearer, more persistent, as though some signal that has always been present has suddenly had its volume turned up. You will notice this in specific moments. A decision where your gut says one thing before your mind has finished building its case, a relationship where your instincts recognize something your analysis has been avoiding, a direction that feels right in a way that precedes any argument for why it should. When this happens, try something different than what you usually do. Do not immediately move to override the instinct with analysis. Let it stand for a moment. Give it space to be examined, yes, but also give it genuine respect. Your instincts are not the enemy of your intelligence. They are an expression of it, arriving through a different door. And right now they have something important to tell you. Way 5. A door that appeared closed develops a visible crack of light. There is something in your life that you had quietly resigned yourself to. Something that presented itself as closed. A possibility that seemed to have passed. An opportunity that appeared to have ended. A direction that looked as though it was no longer available to you. You handled this with your characteristic practical grace. You noted it, processed it, filed it appropriately, and redirected your attention to what was still open. You did not allow yourself to dwell. You found other directions to focus on. You did what you always do, which is adapt thoughtfully and keep moving. But here is what is true. That door was not as permanently closed as it appeared. Closed and locked are not the same thing. Over-ended and over are not the same thing. Something that appeared to have ended has simply been in a period of pause, of reconfiguration, of quiet preparation for a different kind of opening. And right now, if you look at this situation again, not with the resigned pragmatism you adopted when it first appeared to close, but with the open attention of someone who is willing to see things freshly, you will notice something. A crack of light. A small but unmistakable sign that what appeared closed is beginning to open again. Perhaps in a form that looks different from what you originally expected, but with an energy that is unmistakably alive and moving. This is not wishful thinking. Your discerning mind would reject wishful thinking quickly. This is a genuine shift. Something in the circumstances around this situation has changed, and the change has created a space that was not there before. The practical, methodical part of you will want to know exactly what it means, what the specific next step is, what can be counted on and what cannot. And those are fair questions. But before you rush to those questions, take a moment to simply acknowledge what you are seeing. The crack of light is real. The door is beginning to open. And where it leads may be better than where the original version was taking you. Way 6. A relationship moves toward the honesty and resolution it has needed. Virgo, you are deeply loyal. When you commit to a relationship, whether it is a friendship, a partnership, a bond of any kind, you commit with your whole being. You give your attention, your care, your reliability, your honest engagement. You do not do relationships casually. And precisely because you give so much, you feel it with particular sharpness when a relationship is carrying something unresolved, when there is a truth that has not been spoken, a misunderstanding that has never been properly addressed, a distance that has grown between you and someone you care about without either of you fully choosing it. There is a relationship in your life right now that has been in exactly this kind of situation. It has been carrying something unresolved. Perhaps both of you have known it and navigated around it. Perhaps one of you has been aware of it more than the other. But the weight has been there, present in every interaction, adding a quality of effort to what once felt effortless. Right now, this relationship is beginning to move toward what it has needed. The conditions for genuine honesty are developing, not forced or rushed, but natural, the way a conversation becomes possible when the time for it has genuinely arrived. Something in the dynamic between you and this person is shifting. One of you, or both, is finding the courage to step toward the truth that has been waiting. And the movement toward that truth is already changing the quality of the energy between you, even before the actual conversation happens. When honesty arrives in a relationship that has been carrying something unspoken for too long, it does not always feel comfortable at first. But it brings something that careful management and polite distance can never bring. Realness. The possibility of genuine closeness, the kind that only comes when two people have been honest enough with each other to show what is actually there. This relationship is moving toward that. And your willingness to receive it, and to offer your own truth in return, is part of what is making the movement possible. CTAB. If this message is resonating with your sign right now, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it sends exactly the right signal at exactly the right moment. And you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support, whether as a subscriber or as a member of this community, is what keeps these messages alive. The ones that touch hearts, awaken minds, and transform lives. If this video has been making sense to you, drop in the comments the day you were born. Let us keep going. Way 7. Your sense of purpose becomes not just clearer but more personally meaningful. There is a difference between knowing what you are supposed to do and feeling that it genuinely matters to you, that it is not just a task or a role or a competency, but something that connects to who you actually are at a level that goes deeper than skill or efficiency. You have spent periods of your life on the correct side of the first distinction, doing things you were good at, things that served others well, things that were valuable by any reasonable measure, without fully having the second. Without that feeling of personal meaning that transforms useful work into something that feels like yours. Right now, that second thing is arriving. Your sense of purpose is undergoing a shift that is not just about clarity, though it is becoming clearer. It is also becoming more personal. More connected to who you are when you are most fully yourself, rather than who you are when you are performing a role or meeting an expectation. You may have spent time in your life orienting your gifts and efforts around what was needed or what was expected, which is something your service nature inclines you toward. This is generous and valuable, but the alignment that is arriving now is pointing you towards something slightly different, the place where what is needed and what is genuinely yours meet, where the analytical, detail-oriented, deeply intelligent, quietly passionate nature of who you actually are finds expression in work that does not feel like performance, where purpose becomes not just something you fulfill but something you inhabit. This shift will not announce itself with fanfare. It will arrive quietly, the way things arrive for Virgo, through a recognition, a moment of clarity, a sense of rightness that your mind may try to second-guess at first but that your deeper knowing will hold steady. Pay attention to what you feel drawn toward. Pay attention to what feels not just useful but genuinely alive. That alive feeling is not a distraction from your purpose. It is pointing directly toward it. Way 8. Rest arrives. Genuine restorative rest. At the moment you need it most. Virgo, you work. You work in ways that are not always recognized as work because so much of what you do happens internally. The constant analysis, the attention to detail, the mental cataloging of everything that needs to be managed, improved, or considered. Your mind is rarely fully still. Even in moments of physical rest, your thoughts are often running, reviewing, planning, noticing. This is part of your nature, and it comes with extraordinary gifts. But it also comes with a particular kind of fatigue that is different from simply being tired. A deep tiredness that accumulates in layers, the tiredness of a mind that has been operating at high capacity for a sustained period, the tiredness of someone who has been giving careful attention to many things at once for longer than is sustainable without true recovery. Right now, genuine rest is arriving. Not just sleep, not just a pause in activity, but real restorative rest, the kind that actually reaches the layers where the exhaustion actually lives. This may arrive in a specific practical form. A period of fewer demands, a natural easing of the pressures that have been requiring so much of you, an unexpected clearing of your schedule or responsibilities that gives your mind actual space to be quiet. Or it may arrive in a more internal way. A shift in how you relate to the things you have been managing, a release of the need to hold everything so tightly, a moment of genuine surrender that allows your nervous system to remember what it feels like not to be on alert. However it arrives, you will recognize it by a quality that is different from ordinary rest. There will be a depth to it. A sense of the tension in your body and mind actually releasing rather than just temporarily pausing. When this rest arrives, receive it fully. Do not immediately fill the space it creates with new tasks. Do not use the clarity it brings to generate a new list of things to improve. Just rest. Let your extraordinary mind be still for a little while. It has earned it, and it needs it. And from this deep restoration, something important will grow. Way 9. A project or creative vision you had nearly abandoned comes back to life with new energy. There is something you put down. Something that mattered to you, a project, a creative direction, a vision you had for something that felt meaningful and real. You worked on it for a time, gave it genuine effort, brought your characteristic thoroughness and care to it. And then something happened. Maybe the progress was too slow, and the gap between where things were and where you needed them to be felt too large to navigate. Maybe life intervened with demands that crowded out the space the project needed. Maybe you hit a specific obstacle that your analytical mind could not find a clear path around, and without a clear path your momentum faltered. Maybe you simply got tired and needed to put something down, and this was the thing that got put down. You have carried the quiet awareness of this unfinished thing. Not loudly, you do not dwell on things that feel unproductive, but it has been there. A small persistent sense of something that was begun and not completed, something that had genuine potential that was not fully realized. Right now, that thing is beginning to stir again. The energy around it is shifting. The obstacle that seems solid is showing a new angle. The timing that was wrong is beginning to feel right. Something in you that felt depleted when you set it down has been restored enough to consider returning. Do not dismiss this as wishful thinking or as nostalgia for something that passed. Your discerning instincts know the difference between a genuine return of energy and a temporary feeling. This is genuine. The creative vision or project that you nearly abandoned is not finished, it was waiting for the right moment, the right resources, the right version of you to come back to it, with the understanding that the earlier attempts, however incomplete, were not failures but preparation. Return to it with new eyes. What you bring to it now, after everything you have experienced, learned, and grown through since you set it down, will take it somewhere the earlier version of you could not have gone. Way 10. Confirmations of your correct path begin arriving from unexpected directions. Virgo, self-doubt is not foreign to you. Your high standards, applied to yourself with the same unflinching rigidity that you apply to everything else, can make it difficult to feel genuinely confident that you are on the right path. You have moments of clarity, but they are often followed by the analytical mind reopening the case, re-examining the evidence, wondering whether you missed something. This cycle can be exhausting and can make you question things that are actually solid. Right now, something is shifting in this cycle. Confirmations are beginning to arrive. Not from the internal debate your mind conducts with itself, but from outside, from unexpected directions, from circumstances that could not have been arranged by your own wish or hope, from the kinds of events that the logical mind cannot easily explain away. Perhaps someone says something to you that precisely addresses the exact doubt you have been carrying privately, without knowing you were carrying it. Perhaps a development in your external world lines up so precisely with the direction you have been moving that the alignment is impossible to ignore. Perhaps something you created or built or offered comes back to you in the form of evidence, a response, a recognition, a result that confirms it was worth doing. These external confirmations are not arriving because you need external validation to have worth. They are arriving because, at this stage of your journey, the universe is doing what it does when someone is genuinely aligned with their path. It reflects that alignment back in visible ways. The confirmations you are receiving are not flattery. They are feedback from reality. They are the echo of the work you have been doing, coming back to you in a form your practical, evidence-oriented mind can actually work with. When they arrive, let them land. Do not immediately minimize or explain them. They are real. They are correct. They are telling you what your most honest self has already known. You are on the right path, and you are getting better at walking it. Way 11. A quiet, settled knowing arrives, not the anxious certainty of the overactive mind, but the deep calm of genuine alignment. There is a particular kind of certainty that you know well, the one your analytical mind generates when it has reviewed all the evidence and arrived at a conclusion it can defend. This certainty has a quality of effort to it, a sense of things being held in place through the force of continuous attention. And it works to a point, but there is another kind of certainty, a completely different quality of knowing that does not arise from analysis and does not need to be continuously maintained. It arises from a deeper place, from genuine alignment between who you are and how you are living, between what you value and how you are spending your energy, between your purpose and your actions. This deeper certainty has a quality of stillness to it. It does not feel like holding something in place. Feels like something settling, like a piece of furniture finding the spot where it belongs after being moved around too many times, and suddenly, quietly being still. You are approaching this kind of knowing right now. As the alignment in your life grows, as the right people appear, as the practical situations shift, as the burden lightens and the purpose deepens and the rest arrives and the path becomes clearer, something in you is settling. Not the restless, effortful settling of a mind trying to force itself into calm, but the natural settling of a being who is becoming genuinely at peace with where they are and where they are going. When this arrives for you, and it is arriving, let it be real. Your mind may try to question it, to examine it for flaws, to ask whether you are allowed to feel this settled, this okay, this genuinely aligned. The answer is yes. This knowing is not naive or premature. It is the truest confirmation available of what the other 10 ways have been demonstrating, that the work you have been doing is working, that the direction you have been moving is right, and that the life you have been building is becoming something that fits the full truth of who you are. CTAC. If this message resonated with your sign, trust that it is not a coincidence. When the universe wants to speak to you, it always sends exactly the right signal, and you are here because you needed to hear this today. Your support as a subscriber or as a member of this community is what keeps these messages alive. They are the messages that touch, awaken, and transform. If this video made sense to you, leave in the comments the day you were born. There is something that deserves to be said directly to you, Virgo, about the way alignment feels when it is real versus when it is something you are hoping for. Alignment does not feel like everything becoming perfect all at once. It does not feel like a dramatic resolution where every difficulty is suddenly solved and every question is suddenly answered. The alignment that is entering your life right now feels quieter and more real than that. It feels like things beginning to move that have been still for too long. It feels like weight lifting in small but unmistakable increments. It feels like the gap between your efforts and your results beginning to close. It feels like the right people arriving, the right doors opening, the right confirmations appearing, not all at once, but in a steady building, genuinely trustworthy sequence that your pattern-recognizing mind will begin to identify clearly once it knows what it is looking for. What you need to understand and to allow yourself to believe is that you have earned this. Not through perfection. You never achieve perfection, and neither does anyone else, despite what your inner critic would have you believe. You earned it through consistency, through the willingness to keep doing the work even when the results were not yet visible, through showing up again and again with care and attention and integrity, when a less committed person would have long since given up. That consistency is what alignment is built on. Not brilliance, not flawlessness, not the impossibly high standard you hold yourself to, but the humble, steady, reliable, deeply Virgo quality of showing up with genuine care, day after day, through difficulty and doubt and invisible effort. Before this month ends, you will feel it. The confirmation will come in ways you can actually see and touch and trust, not just in ways you have to talk yourself into believing. And when it does, when the alignment becomes visible and real and undeniable, receive it. Let it be for you. Let it be the acknowledgement that the work has been worth doing, that the direction has been right, and that what is coming next is the next right step on a path that has been leading somewhere genuinely good all along.